I've been working at my current job for about 5 years now. It's one of those steady office jobs. Not exactly what I dreamed of when I was younger, but it pays the bills and offers some stability. Plus, I've always gotten along well with my coworkers, and I've built up a solid reputation in the department as someone who knows the ropes. I'm not one of those people who shouts about being a seasoned pro or anything like that, but yeah, I know my way around. Then a couple of months ago, our department got a new boss, Alex. Alex is energetic, ambitious, and, as it turns out, a good 10 years younger than me. I wasn't too worried about it at first. I've worked with younger managers before, and age differences have never been a problem for me. I figured Alex and I would just focus on making the department run smoothly, and that would be that. But things got off to a rocky start almost immediately. During their first week, Alex seemed to be making an effort to get to know everyone on the team. They'd go around chatting with people, trying to break the ice. I appreciated the effort. But when they got to me, their icebreaker was, "Wow, you've been here a long time, haven't you? I bet you've seen a lot of changes." They said it with this big grin, and I gave a polite laugh and said something like, "Yeah, I've seen a few updates over the years." At the time, I didn't think much of it. Maybe it was a bit clumsy, but I assumed Alex was just nervous and trying to connect. But then, the comments kept coming. During meetings, they'd say things like, "Our department veteran will probably remember when we used to do things like this by hand." Or, "You probably remember the days before we even had the software, right?" It felt like every time I turned around, there was another joke about how long I'd been at the company or how experienced I was, and they always emphasized that word with a little wink or a laugh. Alex even made a habit of introducing me to new team members with things like, "This is my name. They've been around since the dawn of time." The first time it happened, everyone kind of chuckled awkwardly, and I just went along with it, trying not to make a scene. But the more it happened, the more uncomfortable I felt. The thing is, I'm not that much older than Alex or the rest of the team. I'm in my late 30s, which, as far as I'm concerned, isn't exactly ancient. But Alex's comments made me feel like I was some relic from a bygone era. It wasn't just the jokes themselves, it was how often they came up, how they seemed to shape every interaction we had. It made me feel like my age, or rather Alex's perception of my age, was the most interesting thing about me. After a few weeks of this, I decided to try dropping some hints. I figured maybe Alex just didn't realize how their comments were coming across. So, after one meeting where Alex made yet another joke about how I'd probably seen it all before, I tried to lighten the mood with, "You know, Alex, you're going to run out of age jokes pretty soon." I said it with a smile, hoping they'd take the hint. But Alex just laughed and said, "Oh, I'm sure I'll come up with more," like it was a challenge. I kept trying to brush it off, telling myself it wasn't a big deal, but it started to bother me more than I wanted to admit. The comments weren't malicious. Alex wasn't outright insulting me or anything, but it was the frequency that got to me. It felt like every time we interacted, they couldn't resist making some kind of remark. It was always framed as a joke, but after a while, it just felt like I was the butt of that joke. The worst moment came during a department lunch when a few of us went out for pizza. We were talking about how fast the industry changes, and Alex turned to me and said, "I bet my name could tell us all about the way things used to be back in the day." And before I could even respond, Alex followed it up with, like before everything went digital. I tried to laugh it off, but I could feel my face heating up as everyone awkwardly glanced at me and then at Alex, clearly unsure of whether to laugh along or stay quiet. I ended up mumbling something about, "Yeah, well, things do change," and then I pretty much kept to myself for the rest of the meal. It was one of those moments where I could feel the shift in the atmosphere, like everyone knew it was uncomfortable but didn't know how to address it. After that, I started avoiding casual conversations with Alex whenever I could. I keep my head down at my desk, try to stay busy when they came by, and focus on work during meetings. But, of course, that didn't really solve the problem. Alex still made those comments whenever they got the chance. "Do you even remember how things used to be done before email? Or it must have been wild when you were getting started in this field." And each time it felt like a little jab. Meanwhile, my other coworkers seemed to pick up on the weirdness. One of my closer colleagues, Jenna, pulled me aside after one particularly awkward meeting and said, "Are you okay? It seems like Alex is always giving you a hard time." I tried to laugh it off with her, too, but she just shook her head. "You don't have to put up with that, you know?" Jenna's comment got me thinking, and I started wondering if maybe I was letting this go on for too long. But the thought of confronting Alex about it made me nervous. I didn't want to seem thin-skinned, like I couldn't take a joke, or worse, like I couldn't handle having a younger boss. Plus, Alex had only been in the role for a few months, and I didn't want to start our working relationship on a bad note by making them feel attacked or unwelcome. Still, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just about a few offhand remarks, it was about respect. I wanted to feel like my experience and knowledge were valued, not treated like some quirky relic of the past. I put a lot of effort into my work over the years, and it hurt to feel like all that was being overshadowed by jokes about my age. Eventually, I decided I had to say something, but I didn't want to jump straight to HR. I thought a direct conversation might be best, so I asked Alex if we could chat privately one afternoon. They seemed surprised but agreed, and we went into a small conference room. I tried to keep it casual, saying something like, "Hey, I just wanted to touch base with you about some of the comments you've been making about my time here, and, the age stuff." Alex looked a bit taken aback, and I could tell they hadn't expected me to bring it up. I kept going, trying to keep my tone light but firm. "I know you're just trying to keep things friendly, but honestly, the jokes are starting to feel a little personal, and I'd appreciate it if we could focus more on the work side of things." For a moment, Alex just stared at me, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I was bracing myself for them to get defensive or brush me off, but instead, Alex's expression softened. "Oh, wow, I didn't realize you felt that way. I'm sorry. I thought I was just keeping things light. I never meant to make you uncomfortable." I felt some of the tension leave my shoulders, and I nodded. "I appreciate that. I just think there's a difference between joking around and feeling like I'm always being singled out. I'm happy to help with any of the department's needs, but I'd like to do that without feeling like the old-timer in the room." Alex seemed genuinely thoughtful after that. They promised to be more mindful of their comments going forward, and to their credit, they have been. It's not perfect, and I still catch them occasionally slipping up, but it's a lot less frequent, and they've been making an effort to acknowledge my contributions without the age jokes. They've even asked for my advice on a few projects, which has made me feel like my experience actually matters again. Things aren't completely back to normal, and I still feel a little self-conscious sometimes, but I think we're on a better path now. It's definitely a weird dynamic, having a younger boss who doesn't always realize when they're overstepping, but I'm hopeful that as we keep working together, we'll find a balance that feels more respectful. Looking back, I wish I'd spoken up sooner, instead of letting those comments fester inside me. I've learned that it's okay to set boundaries even if it feels awkward, and that my voice matters in making my work environment a better place. I don't know if Alex and I will ever be super close, but at least I don't feel like I'm constantly being treated like the office relic. And honestly, that's a win in my book.